Rogan is the biggest podcaster in the world, and one of the things he attempts to do is have conversations with people he disagrees with. However, the critique has been, not really, especially when it comes to issues of faith from the Christian perspective and the pro-life community. So I was extremely shocked when I saw live action, a global pro-life nonprofit organization post a clip of Joe Rogan. And what I discovered when I clicked in was that he featured Babylon Bee CEO Seth Dillon. And the discussion they were having was the rights of the unborn. And though Joe Rogan has seemed to evolve on some of his views regarding this polarizing topic, I've never seen him challenged this much on a position that he holds this close. So on this video, we'll be looking at the exchange between Seth Dillon and Joe Rogan regarding the topic of the unborn, particularly the morality around the worst case scenarios. And his reaction might actually surprise you.
Ruslan.
Gotta give you a precursor. This is gonna have some adult language, so...
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Explicit, explicit, explicit.
We're gonna jump right in at the 42-minute mark. There's a whole lot here to cover. I think Seth Dillon made some amazing points. Where this conversation started, where it went, I thought was really brilliant. Let's jump right in. I'll give you guys some of my thoughts as we go.
Christian conservatives are very compassionate and do a lot of charity work.
Yes, they do.
A ton of charity work.
Yes.
And so they're willing to put their own time volunteering and donating money towards causes that help with those things. You know, you look at like crisis pregnancy centers, for example, which Elizabeth Warren wants to shut down for some reason. I mean, these are...
He went for Elizabeth Warren's neck.
And it's completely charity. It's kindness. It's love and compassion. But it's always, you know, always painted with the brush of, oh yeah, you know, you're on your own. We only care about children before they're born, not after they're born, you know. But I do think, honestly, an argument can be made that conservative Christians are the most charitable people there are.
They're very charitable people. I think what the problem with someone like Elizabeth Warren's idea that you should shut down a place that has an ideology that millions and millions of people believe in, that life is sacred, and that that this is somehow an assault on a woman's right to choose whatever her decision may be. They're worried about other influencers. They're worried about pressure.
You're not even allowing for a choice if you shut.
You're right, and that's where I'm pretty absolute when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And not just free speech amongst every subject.
Okay, so far I'm with Rogan here. Seth is making some good points. They're talking about Elizabeth Warren jumping out the window, attempting to shut down pregnancy resource centers, which is, by the way, just a very goober position, regardless on where you fall on this unborn situation. But let's keep watching.
Not just amongst a woman's right to choose or abortion laws.
Yeah.
And this idea that you can't have someone who is a Christian who talks to another person who's a Christian, and maybe they were on the fence about something, and you convince them to have a child, and it's the best decision they have ever made in their life, and they love their kids so much they couldn't imagine they were thinking about getting an abortion.
Right.
That's real too. That's real too. There's also women who have been raped who should not have to fucking carry some rapist baby. There's women who have been sexually assolted before the age of 14.
There's also, hold on though.
But hold on, don't stop me.
Okay.
That's real too. And we all have to agree.
It's getting spicy. Rogan said we all have to agree. Agree on what exactly?
We have to agree on both of those things.
There are also, though, I'm not going to argue with you on that point, but I will say there are people who have been born of rape and are alive right now and are pro-life. And they...
we don't want to hear their voices. We don't want to platform those people. It gets better, friends.
Go around speaking, talking
That's
about how
great.
I had a right to live. And they will go out there and make an argument, a pro-life case. And they're born of a rape.
You don't have a right to tell a 14-year-old girl she has to carry a rapist baby.
I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that's real too.
Saying?
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're
saying. You
saying.
understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't have the right to tell my 14-year-old daughter she has to carry her rapist baby. You understand that?
To look that woman in the eye who was the born
listen,
of a rape.
Do you understand that? That's a 14-year-old child. If a 14-year-old child gets raped, you say that they have to carry that baby?
I don't think murder fixes a rape.
What if we're talking about an abortion when the fetus, like literally it's like 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 days? What if she just turned positive, just now? Positive for pregnancy.
I just disagree that.
What if it just happened today?
You can like draw a line on when.
You can't.
Like, once
so
life
you
has
can't
begun,
do
I don't
at
think
the
you draw
very
lines.
moment, like, or if they test positive for pregnancy and they take a pill that can get rid of that, like the day of.
You guys think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid, guys. I know this.
You're against that.
I would lay it out like this. I would say it is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human life. Abortion intentionally kills an innocent human life. Therefore, abortion is wrong. And I don't think any of the. I don't think.
Sheesh! That's it. That's it. That's the whole. That's it. That's the argument. It's not rocket science, friends. It's very simple, very straightforward.
Any of the examples of like, oh well, how developed is it? You know, can it think? Is it conscious? Can it dream? Can it feel pain?
So for you, it's the moment of
I
conception.
think that if it's a human life, a distinct human life, then I think it's wrong to end its life. And
so you think that
even,
do you think that like once the conception happens, there's some sort of a miraculous event, like at the very moment, like you could literally get to the point where the sperm cracks the egg. If you could scoop that egg out right there, would that be abortion?
Well, I mean, at some point you're gonna have to say there was a magic moment that happened because you believe that we eventually become valuable humans, right?
Well, listen,
where's the moment where you think the magic happened?
Let me tell you my perspective
And you never get them to answer this part of the question.
on this, because I've said this multiple times, but it bears repeating. I think abortion is a very human issue in that
This is the it's complicated answer. I understand it, but it's very difficult to get the folks who are on the pro side of the pro-choice on this to give you a solid, concrete 5 weeks cut off, 4 weeks cut off, 10. Never, you can't really get this answer out of them. It's just it's complicated.
we're messy, and it's a very messy issue.
It's complicated.
It's
messy.
complicated. Bill Burr has a very good bit about it in his last comedy special, where he says, "I agree with your right to choose, but it's also killing a baby." When
You guys heard the Bill Burr bit? He says, hey, you can't say, it is a baby in there. And he's like, it's like if I make a cake and then you take the cake out of the oven before the cake is done and you throw the cake out. And I go, why did you ruin my cake? And he's like, it's not a cake yet. And he goes, yeah, but it was going to be. Right? That was going to be a cake. That's going to be a human. That's the big punchline. I probably butchered that joke. Really good bit by Bill Burr, of all people.
And you talk about like someone who's at 6 months or 9 months, that gets crazy. That's like you're literally killing a baby. You're killing a baby that could exist outside the womb.
What if rape produced it and it's 8 months old in the womb?
It's a good question. That's also what makes it a very, very messy conversation.
It's tough.
You know, there was a
Just because something's messy doesn't allow you to do something foul. Like, oh, it's messy, so then we can do something more messy? I mean, make that make sense to me.
story that came out recently that someone had said that this woman got in trouble for having an abortion because they got a hold of her Facebook messages. And then my wife sent me the actual story. The actual story was, it was a late-term thing. She was trying to poison the baby.
Joe Rogan's wife, low-key, is pro-life.
The actual story is that she took medication online. She had a miscarriage because of that medication. She took stuff to kill her abortion, to start the abortion, rather. And then her and her mom buried the stillborn. Investigators seeking a warrant said that...
Oh, that's dark. That's dark.
Later learned her mother had bought the oral medication online to end her daughter's pregnancy. That information was gathered in part from... But find out how far along she was. Because I think she was far along. And that's, you know, that's where it gets crazy. 23 weeks. Perhaps as long as 29 weeks. Wow. Oh, under Nebraska law, abortions are legal up to 20 weeks.
Yeah, she was past that threshold.
How many months is that? Is that 6 months? What's 29?
It doesn't matter. How many? It's bad. It's bad, Rogan. Just say it's bad. My brother, just say it's bad. It's evil. It's bad.
That's a baby.
Yeah.
This is...
I'm waiting for Rogan to get red-pilled into becoming a pro-life activist.
not like a clump of cells. That's an actual baby.
Right.
That's why it makes it such a crazy issue.
I mean, when you start talking about harmful misinformation, I mean, I'm as you can tell, I'm pro-life.
Yes.
And like so, you know, when we start talking about harmful misinformation and the types of things that are considered, like that I say or that we tweet or the jokes that we make that are considered harmful misinformation, I'm like, well, what about calling that baby a clump of cells? I think that's harmful misinformation because then you're encouraging people to kill it like it's nothing. It's actually a human life. It's a developing human life. I think abortion is healthcare the way that rape is lovemaking. If we want to use rape as an example, I think it's.
Whoa! He said. Is healthcare the way RAPE is lovemaking? Ugh.
I think they're opposites, and it's like these are euphemisms that we use. You know, we use the word healthcare. We're talking about a procedure that ends an innocent human life, and we're calling it healthcare. That's like calling rape lovemaking.
You guys think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid, guys. I know this.
This is why it's such a human issue, because I see what you're saying. And I think that if Christianity had been any other religion other than, you know, I mean, Christianity is the most mocked religion. Like,
You don't say, Mr. Joe Rogan. The irony that this is coming from Rogan. Yeah, well, you know, Christianity. I don't. Is he pivoting here? Is he just conceding that you kind of got me? We're gonna talk about people mocking Christianity. Like what? I don't know what he was thinking here, but respect to Rogan for being willing to have these conversations and be challenged. It's the first time I've seen him be challenged by someone that was pro-life and someone that was Christian.
we want to look at religions with respect and dignity, whether it's Islam or Hinduism. We look at those with respect and dignity. And even if they have practices that we don't agree with, we sort of give them this leeway that it's a part of their religion.
Yeah,
Christianity is the most openly, easily mocked of all religions. It's the most derived. For whatever reason.
I liked the willingness to go after our own and make fun of ourselves.
That's important.
I think that's really healthy. I think it's very everybody look, like if we were able to laugh at ourselves, we wouldn't have people breaking down crying on TikTok because one of their students used the wrong pronouns for them. You know, like we're so sensitive. We take ourselves so seriously.
You know, if you're a man with a beard and you have blue hair and you say you're a woman and your teacher calls you a man, or your student rather calls you a man, and then you want to cry on TikTok, can't you see why that's kind of an issue?
See, but this is the thing. You got the man-woman thing, but then you call a baby a clump of cells, and a clump of cells based on some arbitrary internalized standard. I think it's very disingenuous for people not to see the correlation here, that we allow people to self-identify, but whatever it is on they believe their personal self-expression is on their internal side, and then we allow the very same thing to happen on what or not is or isn't a baby based on whatever you feel, is it a baby or is it a clump of cells? I'm not sure how Rogan doesn't follow this exact same logic and connect the dots here.
Call you whatever you want.
Right.
A fucking 5-year-old doesn't understand this.
Right.
Especially if this 5-year-old grows up in a Christian household. Maybe they don't discuss these things. Maybe, but we don't respect that religion the way we respect other religions. It's very interesting because in this particular argument, and again, you and I are opposed in some ways about this, but I think what we agree with is that what you are trying to say is that all life is valuable. Yeah. All life is valuable. The moment of conception is valuable. It's all valuable, and it's so important that we be this loving Christian community. And
I don't think you have to be a Christian to hold that view, by the way. And I think there's plenty of pro-life atheists who would say, you know, when
no, but I'm saying you guys as Christians, that's how you think about it.
Right.
You guys,
course,
you follow your guidelines of your religion, and that's what's in your guidelines of your religion. It's not like you're pushing it on other people, but this is what you're promoting. It's what you're saying.
Right.
And it's the only thing that's fucked is the right to choose. That's the only thing that's fucked. To force that onto a kid is, to me, it's chaos. That's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But what you're saying other than that is like life is valuable. Like, yes, and people have almost were the victims of abortion, and they weren't. They went on to become these amazing people, and we would have lost them.
Sometimes it's a failed abortion. Like there's people who've survived like a saline abortion, and they're damaged as a result of it, but they lived.
These stories are way more common than you would know. Next time you have some free time and you want to hear some inspirational stories, open your YouTube and search abortion survivor. Okay, this story right here will tear you up. I survived too. Okay, tons of these folks around.
They usually go on, ironically enough, to become pro-life activists.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild. But it makes sense. I mean, if that's what made you, wouldn't you be a pro-life activist?
Probably would be.
Yeah, of course you would be. It's crazy. Yeah. It's one of the most heated battlegrounds because the people that are pro-life have this, in many ways, it's a loving view that all life is sacred, right?
In many ways? Yeah, in all ways, my friend.
The best way to look. And then the people, the other end of it, see where this is going if you tell a woman what she can and can't do, and tell a woman what her decision is. If she decides that at 2 weeks it's not a fetus, it's not a baby, it's not a life, it's a clump of cells. Like if she makes that decision and she wants to move on with her life, I don't think we should have the ability to tell someone what they can and can't do like that. But again, when it gets to like where it's 6 months, it gets kind of crazy.
Right.
Like that's actually a baby.
And I appreciate that you distinguish the two because
I appreciate that he distinguishes the two. I still think it feels very weird to have an arbitrary standard on when it is and isn't a baby anymore. That's weird. 6 months, yes. 4 weeks, no. Why?
I would say, you know, when you talk about outliers in sports, for example, those outliers being used as examples to try to shove an argument through.
Right.
That's done with abortion all the time. Or you use the example of the teenage girl who gets raped.
Right.
You know, like that. I mean, that's tragic. Genuinely tragic. Awful, terrible stuff. Super small percentage of abortion. I mean, most abortions are contraception. It's like, you know, they're used as like late contraception. It's I got pregnant, I don't want a baby, I'm getting rid of it.
Right.
And I'm shocked how many people don't know this. when you really have this conversation and you go, okay, those are bad, but they account for a very small percentage. Mother's Health account for a very small percentage. Can we agree that the other 98 to 99% of these procedures are utterly evil and unnecessary, right? Whenever you go to the most radical fringe extreme of this specific conversation on the pro-choice, what is it? It's an emotional argument. That's what it is. It's an emotional argument. It's not a biological argument. It's not a scientific argument. It's not a logical argument. It is an emotional argument. How dare you tell a 15-year-old girl what she can and can't do with her body if she was the victim of SA? Yeah, let's be frank. This is a very, very minority position. Can we rally around and say that the vast majority of these procedures are absolutely unnecessary and legally not protected under the Constitution? Why would you feel a way that people who believe all life is sacred are celebrating the fact that our Supreme Court acknowledged that it is not a protected right under the Constitution? You feel a way about that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Because it's an emotional argument. And Joe Rogan, I think, exhibited that here, though a lot of maturity on his part for having this brother on, man. And shout out to Seth Dillon for doing a great job navigating this conversation. He posted this on Instagram, said this is not a conversation he was expecting to have with Rogan. He's on there because Babylon B got kicked off Twitter, censorship, all that kind of stuff. I thought this was a great conversation. If you guys want to see my other video about Rogan and this exact topic and some more of my views on this topic, I'll have both of those linked over here. I'll see you over there. All right? Peace.